wiped the sweat from her forehead as she lifted another cargo container onto the hover platform. The container weighed about 200 pounds, but she handled it like it was nothing more than a bag of rice. Around her, the merchant district of Nexus Prime Station buzzed with activity. Aliens of every shape and size moved through the crowded marketplace, their voices creating a symphony of strange languages and sounds. She had been working on the station for almost 2 years now. At first, the other species had looked at her with curiosity. Humans were still new to the galactic community. Only 50 years had passed since Earth made first contact with alien life. Most aliens still didn't know much about humans, and what they did know wasn't always correct. Pushed the hover platform forward, guiding it through the crowd. She was careful not to bump into anyone. The station was always busy during trade season. Merchants from across the galaxy came here to buy and sell their goods. Some sold food from distant worlds. Others sold technology, weapons, or rare minerals. The station was neutral territory, which meant that even enemies could trade here in peace. Or at least, that was how it was supposed to work. Minyu waved at her from across the marketplace. He was her and one of the few other humans on this section of the station. He wore the dark blue uniform of station security, and his hand rested casually on the stun weapon at his belt. Waved back and continued pushing her platform toward the storage area. That was when she saw them. A group stood near one of the weapon stalls. They were tall, easily 7 feet or more, with scales that shimmered in shades of green and brown. Their bodies were thick with muscle, and their eyes were cold and reptilian, came from a world with much higher gravity than Earth. Their planet pulled at them with almost 4 times the force of Earth's gravity. This made them naturally strong and dense. Most believed this made them superior to other species. The leader of the group was examining something at the stall. His scales were darker than the others, almost black in some places. Scars crisscrossed his arms and face. This was, though didn't know his name yet. She only knew that he looked dangerous, and her instincts told her to give him space. She tried to guide her hover platform around the group. The marketplace was crowded, and she had to squeeze through a narrow gap between its position and a food stall selling something that smelled like burning rubber. As she passed, her platform's edge bumped into a small crate sitting on the ground. The crate tipped over. Metal objects spilled out onto the station floor with a loud clatter. Stopped immediately. She looked down and saw weapons. Plasma pistols, energy blades, and other items she recognized from security briefings. These were military-grade weapons, the kind that required special permits to sell on the station, the kind that were usually illegal. "I'm so sorry," said quickly. She set her platform aside and knelt down to help pick up the weapons. "Let me help you with." A massive hand grabbed her by the arm and yanked her upward, pulled her to her feet with such force that she stumbled. He towered over her, his yellow eyes burning with rage. His breath smelled like sulfur and old meat. "You clumsy primitive," growled. His voice was deep and rumbling like rocks grinding together. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "It was an accident," said calmly. She didn't try to pull her arm free even though his grip was painful. "I'll help you pick everything up. No harm done." His lips pulled back, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "No harm. You've exposed my merchandise to every security camera in this sector. You've ruined my deal, and you dare to speak to me like an equal." A crowd was beginning to form. Aliens of various species stopped their shopping and trading to watch. Some looked concerned. Others looked excited, as if they were hopping for a fight. Noticed several of them backing away, creating a circle around her end. "I really am sorry," repeated. She kept her voice calm and even. "But if you let go of my arm, I can help fix this." "Help," laughed a harsh barking sound. "You, a human, you barely qualify as sentient. Your species is soft, weak. You come from a low-gravity world, which means you're fragile. You have no natural weapons, no armor, nothing that makes you worth acknowledging." Felt her jaw tighten, but she didn't respond. She had heard this kind of talk before. Many aliens looked down on humans. They saw Earth's one-gravity environment as weak compared to their higher gravity. They didn't understand that Earth had shaped humans in other ways. "I've heard about your kind," continued. He was playing to the crowd now, enjoying the attention. "You break easily. Your bones are like glass. Your flesh tears with the slightest pressure. You're only here because the Galactic Council felt sorry for you. Pity membership for a pitiful species." Some of the aliens in the crowd made sounds that might have been laughter. Others remained silent, watching carefully. Saw Minyu pushing through the crowd, but he was still far away. She was on her own for now. "Please let go of my arm," said quietly. "Or what?" Leaned closer. "What will you do, little human? Will you cry? Will you run to your security friends? Will you?" Moved suddenly, twisting her arm in a specific way that broke's grip. It was a simple technique, one she had learned in basic self-defense classes back on Earth. Looked surprised, but only for a moment. Then his surprise turned to rage. "You dare," he hissed. What happened next seemed to occur in slow motion. Drew back his massive hand and swung it forward in a vicious backhand slap. His palm connected with his face with a crack that echoed through the marketplace. The force of the blow would have killed many species. It would have shattered the skull of it would have broken the neck of a Tellurian. For a human, it should have at minimum knocked her unconscious. His head snapped to the side. She tasted blood in her mouth. Her cheek burned with pain, and she felt something warm trickling from her split lip. But she didn't fall, she didn't even stumble. The crowd went completely silent. Even the background noise of the station seemed to fade away. Every eye was on as she slowly, deliberately, turned her head back to face. Blood ran down her chin. Her left cheek was already beginning to swell, but her eyes were clear and focused, and they were very, very cold. His expression changed. The arrogance faded, replaced by something that might have been confusion, or perhaps the first hint of fear. Reached up and wiped the blood from her lip with the back of her hand. She looked at the red stain for a moment, then back at. "You just made a terrible mistake," she said softly. Minyu finally reached the edge of the crowd. He saw his bloody face and tensed, his hand moving toward his weapon. But then he saw her stance, saw the look in her eyes, and he stopped. He crossed his arms and leaned against a nearby stall, watching. A small smile played at the corner of his mouth. He had seen this before. He knew what was about to happen. The crowd held its breath, stood frozen, suddenly uncertain, and began to move. Time seemed to stretch in strange ways, stood there, suddenly unsure of himself. He was used to his enemies showing fear. He was used to them backing down, running away, or begging for mercy. But this small human just stood there, blood on her face, looking at him like he was already defeated. "You will apologize," said, trying to regain control of the situation. His voice boomed across the marketplace. "You will get on your knees and beg for forgiveness, or I will." He never finished the sentence. His fist came out of nowhere. One moment she was standing still. The next moment her fist was buried deep in his midsection, right below his. The sound was terrible. It wasn't just the thud of flesh hitting flesh. It was the crack of armor breaking. Wore a protective vest made from the scales of his apex predator. That armor could stop a plasma blade. It could deflect energy weapons. It shattered like glass under his punch. His eyes went wide. All the air rushed out of his lungs in a single whoosh. He tried to breathe in but couldn't. His body refused to obey him. Pain exploded through his torso, the kind of pain he hadn't felt since his warrior trials as a youth. 3 seconds had passed. Didn't pause. She didn't wait to see if would recover. While he was still gasping for air, she grabbed him by his armor straps and yanked him forward. At the same time, she brought her knee up with devastating force. Her knee connected with his stomach again, hitting the exact same spot where she had punched him. His 400-pound body lifted off the ground. For a moment, impossibly, he was airborne. The crowd gasped. Some of the smaller aliens squeaked in fear and backed away further. Evan's own crew members, the other who had been shopping with him, took several steps back. 7 seconds had passed. Gravity pulled back down but was already moving. She was fast, much faster than someone her size should be. Before could fully register what was happening, had pivoted behind him. Her movements were smooth and practiced, like a dancer who had performed the same routine 1,000 times. She grabbed his right arm and twisted it behind his back in a joint lock, tried to resist. His muscles strained. His species was famous for their strength. He had once bent steel bars with his bare hands. He had broken through reinforced doors. He had defeated opponents twice his size. None of it mattered. Had leverage, technique, and something else. Something the crowd was beginning to understand but couldn't quite believe. 12 seconds had passed. Youth's own momentum against him. She pushed forward while pulling his arm back. His body had no choice but to follow. He flipped through the air, his back arcing, his legs flailing. Then he crashed down onto the station's metal deck plating with a sound like a thunder crack. The deck plating dented. Actual metal, designed to withstand the pressure of thousands of footsteps from heavy gravity species, bent inward where his body hit. Alarms started beeping. Somewhere in the station's control center, maintenance crews were probably looking at their screens in confusion, wondering what could have caused structural damage to the marketplace floor. Lay there stunned. His vision swam, his back screamed in agony. His right arm felt like it might be broken, though it wasn't. Not quite. He tried to push himself up, tried to rise and fight back. He was a warrior. He had never been defeated in single combat. He refused to accept this. 17 seconds had passed. His boot came down on his throat. Not hard enough to crush. Not hard enough to kill. But hard enough to make him freeze. Hard enough to make him feel his windpipe compress slightly. Hard enough to remind him that his life was currently in her hands. "Move again," said quietly, "and I'll make this worse for you." Her voice was calm, not angry, not emotional, just stating a fact like she was explaining that the station ran on a 26-hour cycle or that oxygen made up 20% of Earth's atmosphere. Looked up at her. From his position on the ground, she seemed impossibly tall. Her face was still bleeding. Her cheek was swollen, but her eyes were steady and clear. In that moment, understood something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. She had been holding back. Even now, with her boot on his throat, she was being gentle. She could have killed him at any point during the fight. Could have crushed his windpipe with that first punch. Could have snapped his neck when she threw him. Could have stomped down instead of just pressing down. She had chosen not to. Not because she couldn't, but because she had decided he wasn't worth killing. 20 seconds had passed. Step back. She removed her boot from his throat and took 2 steps away, giving him room to breathe. Sucked in air desperately, coughing and gasping. He rolled onto his side, then slowly, painfully, pushed himself up onto his hands and knees. The crowd was absolutely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Aliens from dozens of different species stood frozen, trying to process what they had just witnessed. A human, one of the weak species, had just completely destroyed a warrior in under half a minute. "Mean you finally moved." He walked through the crowd, which parted for him like water. He stopped next to and looked down at with an expression of mild disappointment. "You okay?" he asked in Korean, their native language. "I'm fine," she replied, also in Korean. "He hits hard, though. I think my tooth is loose." "Want me to arrest him?" Security cameras caught everything right. Every angle. Minyu tapped the badge on his chest. Station AI flagged it as self-defense. "You're clear." Nodded. She looked around at the crowd, then back at. He was on his knees now, one arm clutched to his chest, breathing heavily. His crew members hadn't moved to help him. They just stood there, staring. "The weapons," said, pointing at the scattered items still on the ground. "Those are military grade, illegal to sell without proper permits." Minyu followed her gaze and nodded. He tapped his communicator. Dispatch, this is Officer Minyu. Need a security team at Marketplace Section 7. Illegal weapons sale and assault. Suspect is a male already subdued. Static crackled, then a voice responded. Copy that, team en route. Did you say already subdued? Civilian defense, Minyu replied. He looked at with a hint of pride. From cargo handling. Oh, there was a pause. Is she human? Yes. Say no more. Team will be there in 2 minutes. The security drones arrived first. They floated down from the ceiling, their cameras focusing on and the weapons. One of them scanned face, recorded her injuries, and transmitted the data to the station's medical bay. Within seconds, a medical team had been dispatched. Looked up at, his yellow eyes were no longer filled with rage. Now they held something else. Respect, maybe, or fear, probably both. What are you? He whispered. Touched her swollen cheek and winced. I'm just a cargo handler, she said. I'm not even a fighter. I just work out 3 times a week and took some self-defense classes back home. This answer seemed to disturb more than anything else that had happened. His face went pale under his scales. The security team arrived. 3 officers, 2 of them human and 1 a tall, bird-like alien called. They took in the scene quickly. The dented floor, the scattered weapons, his broken armor, his bloody face. Do we need a statement? One of the human officers asked. Station AI has everything, Minyu said. Full video, audio, the works. Clear case of self-defense after assault. The officers moved to arrest. As they pulled him to his feet and secured his arms, he kept staring at. She stared back, her expression neutral. Then she turned away and walked back to her hover platform, which was still sitting where she had left it. The crowd finally began to disperse, though many of the aliens kept looking back at. They whispered to each other in their various languages. Already, the story was spreading. The medical team tried to escort to the infirmary, but she waved them off. I'm fine, she insisted. Just give me something for the swelling and let me finish my shift. The medic, a small furry creature called looked at her with wide eyes. Ma'am, you were struck with enough force to kill most species. You need a full scan to check for internal injuries, brain damage, spinal. I don't have any of those things, interrupted gently. My head hurts and my cheek is swollen, but I'm okay, really. The medic looked to Minyu for help, but he just shrugged. She's right. Humans are tougher than they look. Just give her some ice and pain medication. Reluctantly, the medic produced a cold pack and a small pill, swallowed the pill, pressed the cold pack to her cheek, and went back to work. The crowd watched her go, their conversations growing louder as she disappeared around a corner. An hour later, the marketplace was still buzzing with talk of the fight. Merchants who had witnessed it were telling the story to those who hadn't. Each retelling made it slightly more dramatic. Some said had thrown across the entire marketplace. Others claimed she had roared like a beast. A few even suggested she might be some kind of enhanced soldier or secret weapon. That was when Elder arrived. Was a Tellurian, one of the oldest species in the Galactic Council. His people had been traveling the stars for over 10,000 years. Himself was ancient, his skin marked with the patterns that showed his centuries of life. He walked slowly, leaning on a staff that hummed with energy. When he entered the marketplace, conversation stopped, commanded respect across all species. He made his way to the spot where the fight had occurred. The dent in the floor was still there, though maintenance crews had cordoned it off with warning tape. Stood there for a long moment, studying the damage. Then he turned to address the gathered crowd. I see we have had an incident, said. His voice was quiet but somehow carried to every corner of the marketplace. I have reviewed the security footage. I have spoken with the witnesses, and I have noticed that many of you seem confused about what happened here today. A merchant raised one of her 4 arms. Elder, we don't understand how a human could defeat a warrior. They come from a high-gravity world. They are naturally stronger than most species. Humans come from a low-gravity world. By all logic, the human should have been killed by that first strike. Low gravity, repeated. He made a sound that might have been a chuckle. Yes, I have heard humans described this way many times since they joined the Galactic Council. Earth has one gravity which many of you consider weak. You have two gravity, three gravity, even four gravity in the case of the. And so you assume that humans must be fragile. He paused, letting his words sink in. This assumption is incorrect, continued. And it is time that the galaxy understood the truth about Earth and its people. Minyu had been listening from the edge of the crowd. Now he stepped forward. Elder, would you like me to explain? I've been working with the Galactic Council to create educational materials about humans. Please do, said, gesturing for Minyu to speak. Minyu activated his data pad and projected a hologram into the air above the crowd. It showed an image of Earth, rotating slowly in space. Blue oceans covered most of its surface. Green continents dotted the blue. White clouds swirled in patterns. This is Earth, Minyu said. You look at this planet and you see one gravity. You think this makes us weak. But you're missing something important. You're not considering what else Earth has. The hologram changed, showing images of Earth's landscapes. Deserts where the temperature reached 50 degrees Celsius, Arctic regions where it dropped to -40, dense jungles, tall mountains, deep oceans. Earth is what we call a death world, Minyu continued. Not because of its gravity, but because of everything else. Our planet has extreme temperature variations. We have violent weather patterns, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, tsunamis. We have predators that evolved alongside us, hunting us for millions of years. We have diseases, bacteria, viruses, parasites. The crowd was quiet now, paying close attention. Some of them looked uncomfortable. Humans didn't evolve to be strong in the way are strong, Minyu said. We evolved to survive. Our bones are dense and flexible. They can break, but they can also heal stronger than before. Our muscles are efficient. We might not be able to lift as much as in terms of pure strength, but we can run for hours without stopping. We can go days without water, weeks without food. The hologram showed images of human athletes, runners completing marathons, climbers scaling mountains, swimmers crossing vast distances. We have pain tolerance that most species find disturbing, Minyu continued. We can keep functioning with broken bones, with wounds that would incapacitate others. We have something called an adrenaline response, which lets us push our bodies beyond their normal limits in dangerous situations. And we heal fast. Injuries that would take months to recover from for other species take us weeks or even days. In the crowd spoke up. But the gravity, surely living in low gravity makes you weaker. Actually, it's the opposite, Elder said. Think about it logically. If a lives on a 4-gravity world, their body is built to handle 4 gravity. When they come to a station like this, which operates at standard 1.5 gravity, they feel lighter, stronger. But they're not actually stronger. They're just operating at less than their normal burden. Now consider humans, continued. They live at 1 gravity, but they build their bodies through something they call exercise. They deliberately stress their muscles and bones beyond what their normal gravity requires. When that young woman who fought today said she works out 3 times a week, she meant that she regularly subjects her body to stresses greater than what her demands. Do you understand what this means? The crowd was beginning to understand. Some of them looked shocked, others looked frightened. It means humans are always training, Minyu said. Every human who exercises, who plays sports, who does physical labor, is constantly pushing themselves beyond what's necessary for survival. We don't just adapt to our environment. We challenge it. We make ourselves stronger because we can, because it's part of our culture. And when a species like that comes to a station with 1.5 gravity, they barely notice the difference. Meanwhile, species from higher gravity worlds feel the relief and assume humans must feel even more relief. They assume humans must be weak here, but humans feel nothing. To them, this is still just normal. The hologram changed again, showing statistics. Human bone density compared to other species, human muscle efficiency, human endurance capacity, healing rates, pain tolerance indexes. Every chart showed humans far exceeding what their gravity should have produced. There's something else, Minyu said quietly. Something that most species don't have. Humans are persistence hunters. Do you know what that means? No one answered. It means our ancestors hunted by chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion, Minyu explained. We're not the fastest species. We're not the strongest, but we don't stop. We don't quit. When we decide to chase something, we chase it until it can't run anymore. We evolved to never give up. It's built into our psychology, our culture, our very biology. This is why, Elder said, in the 5 years that humans have worked security on this station, they have never lost a physical confrontation. Not once. And this is why that young woman defeated a warrior in 20 seconds. Not because she's special, but because she's normal. An average human civilian with basic self-defense training is more dangerous than most species-trained warriors. The crowd was silent. Finally, someone asked, "Why didn't anyone tell us this before?" "We tried," Minyu said with a slight smile. "But most species didn't believe us. They looked at our gravity and made assumptions. They saw our lack of natural weapons and armor and thought we were weak. They didn't look deeper. Now, thanks to what happened today, maybe the galaxy will start to understand." Elder nodded slowly. The young woman showed remarkable restraint. She could have killed easily. She chose not to. This is also typical of humans. They have the capacity for great violence, but they prefer peace. They try words first. They give second chances. They hold back their strength. Until they don't, Minyu added. The crowd dispersed slowly after that, everyone deep in thought. The story of what Elder had explained spread even faster than the story of the fight itself. By the end of the day, every merchant and trader on Nexus Prime Station knew the truth about humans. Earth wasn't a low-gravity world. It was a death world, and its people were survivors. In the station's medical bay, lay on a reinforced bed designed for large species. Medical scanners hummed around him, displaying information that made the doctors shake their heads in disbelief. 3 broken ribs, severe bruising to internal organs, damaged armor plates that had been biologically integrated into his skin, muscle trauma throughout his torso, and worst of all, a cracked vertebra in his spine. "You're lucky to be alive," the head doctor said. She was with 6 arms and compound eyes that could see in multiple spectrums. Another few pounds of pressure and your spine would have been severed. You would have been paralyzed. Said nothing. He stared at the ceiling, his mind replaying those 20 seconds over and over. Each time he remembered it, it felt more impossible, more humiliating. A human, a female human, someone half his size and from a low-gravity world. She had destroyed him like he was nothing. A security officer entered the medical bay. It was one of the from station security, not one of his crew. His name was, and he looked at with a mixture of pity and disgust. "The weapons we found were traced back to a smuggling ring operating across 6 systems," said. "You're being charged with illegal weapons trafficking, assault, and resisting arrest." "I didn't resist arrest," muttered. "You tried to stand up when the officers told you to stay down. That counts as resisting." Consulted his data pad. "You're looking at 5 years in a Federation prison. Maybe more, depending on what else we find when we investigate your crew and your ship." "5 years," repeated numbly. "You're also being fined for the damage to station property. That deck plating you dented. It's going to cost 60,000 credits to repair." His expression hardened. "But honestly, the legal punishment isn't the worst part for you." "What do you mean?" "I mean your reputation is finished," said bluntly. "The security footage has already been shared across the galactic network. Everyone from here to the core worlds knows that you got beaten by a human cargo worker. Every warrior clan in the empire will see it. Your family will see it. Your enemies will see it. Closed his eyes. In culture, honor and strength were everything. To be defeated in combat was shameful. To be defeated quickly, without putting up any real fight, was worse. But to be defeated by someone from a species considered weak, that was a stain that could never be washed away. There's already a saying spreading on the station, continued. Wanna hear it? Didn't answer, but told him anyway. Never fight an Earthborn in hand-to-hand combat. Let that sink in. It's not just about you anymore. You've become a warning, a lesson that the galaxy needed to learn. After left lay in silence. He thought about his training as a warrior, the years of discipline, the battles he had won, the opponents he had crushed, all of it meaningless now, all of it erased by 20 seconds. Across the station, in a small apartment in the residential sector, sat on her couch with an ice pack pressed to her face. Her roommate, Jinnah, hovered nearby with concern written all over her face. "Are you sure you don't want to go to the medical bay?" Jinnah asked for the 5th time. "That swelling looks bad." "It looks worse than it is," assured her. "The pain medication is working. I'll be fine in a few days." "You should take time off work." "I'll think about it." Jinnah sat down beside her. "You know the whole station is talking about you, right? I've gotten 20 messages from friends asking if it's true that my roommate beat up a warrior." "I didn't beat him up," said. "I defended myself." "You put him in the medical bay." "He hit me first." Jinnah couldn't argue with that. She had seen the security footage that was circulating. Everyone had. The video showed everything clearly. His unprovoked aggression. His slap that should have killed. His methodical, efficient response. The whole thing was only 23 seconds long, but it was being watched billions of times across the galaxy. "People want to interview you," Jinnah said. "News services, documentary makers. There's even someone from the Galactic Military Academy who wants to talk about your techniques." "I don't want to talk to anyone," said tiredly. "I just want to do my job and be left alone." "I don't think that's going to be possible anymore." Sighed. She knew Jinnah was right. Her life had changed the moment struck her. She had become a symbol of something larger than herself, a representation of Earth and humanity. It was a responsibility she had never asked for and didn't particularly want. Her communicator beeped. She checked it and saw a message from her supervisor. Instead of the reprimand she half expected for causing a scene in the marketplace, the message was brief and supportive. "Take the rest of the week off. Paid leave. You've earned it. Let me know if you need anything." More messages came in. Friends checking on her. Family from Earth who had seen the news. Former classmates from her self-defense classes expressing pride. Even some messages from people she didn't know, thanking her for standing up for humans. One message stood out. It was from Elder. "Young one, you have handled yourself with honor and restraint. If you wish to speak with someone who understands the burden of becoming a symbol, my door is open." Appreciated the offer, but she wasn't ready to think of herself as a symbol yet. She was just someone who had defended herself. That was all. 3 days later, was transferred from the medical bay to a holding cell. His injuries had healed enough for him to be moved, though he still wore a brace on his torso and walked with a limp. As he was escorted through the station, he saw something that made him stop. A group of young aliens, teenagers from various species, were gathered around a training mat in one of the station's public recreation areas. And there, teaching them was. She demonstrated a simple blocking technique while the young aliens watched carefully. Her face was still bruised. The swelling had gone down, but yellow and purple marks remained. But she moved with the same calm confidence she had shown during their fight. "The key is not to meet force with force," was explaining. "You want to redirect the energy, use your opponent's momentum against them, like this." She had one of the students, a young, try to grab her. She showed him how to break the grip without hurting him. The students practiced the technique, helping each other learn. Watched for a long moment. The security guards escorting him didn't rush him. One of them, a human named, noticed what was looking at. She started teaching classes yesterday, said quietly. Free lessons for anyone who wants to learn. She's teaching non-violent defense techniques, how to protect yourself without seriously hurting your attacker. Why asked? Because that's who she is, replied. She could be angry. She could hate you for what you did. Instead, she's helping others learn how to handle situations like the one you put her in. That's a human for you. We get knocked down, we get back up, and we try to make things better. As the guards led away, he looked back one more time, had noticed him watching. Their eyes met across the distance. She didn't glare at him or show hatred. She just looked at him with that same calm expression, then turned back to her students. In that moment, understood something he should have known from the beginning. Strength wasn't just about how hard you could hit or how much you could lift. Real strength was about restraint, control, choosing not to destroy when you had the power to do so. Humans had that kind of strength, and he, for all his warrior training, had mistaken their gentleness for weakness. It was a mistake he would never make again. 3 months passed. The dent in the marketplace floor was repaired, but a small plaque was installed at the spot. It read simply, "On this day, the galaxy learned to respect Earth." It became a popular tourist attraction. Visitors from across the galaxy would come to Nexus Prime Station just to see the place where had fought. Herself tried to maintain a normal life, but it wasn't easy. Her self-defense classes had grown so popular that she had to limit enrollment. Aliens of every species wanted to learn from her. Some wanted to understand human fighting techniques. Others simply wanted to be able to say they had trained with the woman who had become a galactic legend. She still worked as a cargo handler 3 days a week. She insisted on keeping her regular job despite multiple offers for other positions. Corporate security firms offered her 6-figure salaries to be a bodyguard. Military contractors wanted to hire her as a trainer. Media companies wanted her to star in action programs. She declined everything. She liked her simple life. She liked moving cargo and helping people and going home to her small apartment at the end of the day. But the galaxy had changed around her, whether she wanted it to or not. Minyu sat in the security office, reviewing reports. The incident had led to a massive shift in how the station operated. Illegal weapons dealers had become much more cautious. Crime rates had dropped. And most importantly, humans were no longer dismissed as weak or insignificant. "Look at this," Minyu's partner said. He pulled up a report on his screen. 5 separate incidents this month where suspects surrendered the moment they realized they were dealing with human security officers. They didn't even try to resist. "That's good, isn't it?" Minyu asked. "It's great for keeping the peace," agreed. "But it's also kind of sad. We've gone from being underestimated to being feared." "Not feared," Minyu corrected. "Respected, there's a difference." The door to the office opened, an elder entered. The ancient Tellurian moved slowly but with purpose. Both security officers stood respectfully. "I have something to show you," said. He activated a holographic display that filled the center of the room. "This is data from the Galactic Military Academy. They've been tracking human performance since your species joined the Council 50 years ago." The display showed graphs and charts. Human soldiers had consistently outperformed expectations in every category: endurance tests, hand-to-hand combat, survival training, recovery from injury. The gap between human capabilities and what other species could achieve was startling. "We thought these numbers were errors at first," admitted. "We ran the tests multiple times. We checked for equipment malfunction, but the data was correct. Humans really are this capable." "Why are you showing us this?" asked. "Because the Academy is changing its entire curriculum," said. "They're creating new training programs based on human methods. They want to teach other species how to push beyond their limits the way humans do naturally. and they want to hire human instructors to lead these programs. Minu and exchanged glances. This was huge. The Galactic Military Academy trained soldiers from thousands of worlds. If they were adopting human training methods, it would spread Earth's influence across the entire galaxy. There's more, continued. Earth has received over 200 requests for military assistance contracts, colonies and worlds that want human security forces. They're willing to pay premium rates. Earth can't provide that many soldiers, Minu said. No, but the demand shows how perception has changed. 3 months ago, humans were seen as fragile newcomers. Now you're seen as elite warriors from a death world. The incident with Young accelerated a shift that was already beginning to happen. She simply made everyone pay attention. Back in her apartment was video calling her parents on Earth. Her mother's face filled the screen, smiling but with worry in her eyes. "How are you feeling, sweetheart?" her mother asked. "I'm fine, Mom. The bruises healed weeks ago." "That's not what I meant. I meant emotionally. You've been through a lot." Considered the question. Had she been through a lot? She supposed she had. Her life had changed dramatically. She couldn't walk through the station without being recognized anymore. People pointed at her, whispered about her. Some asked for autographs or pictures. "I'm adjusting," said finally. "It's strange being famous for something I didn't want to do." "You defended yourself." Her father's voice came from off-screen. He moved into view, settling next to her mother. "That's nothing to be ashamed of." "I know, I just wish everyone would move on. It was one fight, 20 seconds. Why can't people let it go?" "Because it meant something to them," her father explained. "For 50 years, humans have been treated like second-class citizens in the galaxy. Weak, primitive, inferior. You showed everyone that we're not. You gave humanity a victory. People need heroes, whether you wanted to be one or not." After the call ended, stood by her apartment window and looked out at the station. Ships of all sizes docked and departed. Aliens from countless worlds moved through the corridors. This was her home now, this floating city in space. This was where she had chosen to make her life. She thought about. She had heard he was serving his sentence in a Federation prison. 5 years, with possibility of early release for good behavior. Part of her felt bad for him. His entire life had been destroyed because he made one mistake, because he believed the wrong things about humans and acted on those beliefs. But another part of her knew it had to happen. The galaxy needed to learn, not just about humans but about respect, about not judging others based on assumptions, about the danger of arrogance. Her communicator chimed. It was a message from a young alien named one of her students. "Teacher, I used the blocking technique you taught me today. A bully tried to push me in the school corridor. I stopped him without hurting him. He apologized. Thank you for teaching me." Smiled. This was why she taught. Not to create fighters, but to give people confidence. To help them protect themselves without becoming violent. To show them that strength and gentleness could exist together. She typed back, "I'm proud of you. Remember, the best fight is the one you avoid. But if you can't avoid it, end it quickly and safely." Across the station, in a communal area near the marketplace, a group of aliens gathered around a table. They were from different species, different worlds, but they all had one thing in common. They were business owners and merchants who had been on the station when the fight happened. "I've been thinking," a merchant said, "we should establish a fund, something to support humans who come to work on the station, help them get settled, show our appreciation." "I agree," a trader added. "Humans have made this station safer just by being here. Crime is down. Disputes are resolved more peacefully. We owe them something." They all agreed. Within a week, the fund was established. It offered housing assistance, job placement, and educational support for any human who came to work on Nexus Prime Station. It was called the Fund, though herself had nothing to do with it and was embarrassed when she found out about it. But it was just one of many changes rippling through the galaxy. On Earth, enrollment in military and security programs had increased dramatically. Young people who had never considered such careers now saw opportunities in space. They wanted to be part of this new era, where humans were respected and valued. Trade agreements that had been stalled for years suddenly moved forward. Worlds that had been reluctant to deal with Earth now actively sought partnerships. The economic impact was enormous. Earth's GDP increased by 15% in just 3 months. But more important than the economic changes were the cultural ones. Humans who had felt like outsiders in the galactic community now walked with confidence. They no longer apologized for their existence or tried to make themselves smaller to fit in. They understood, finally, that being different wasn't a weakness. 6 months after the incident, received a letter. It was from. She almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity won out. The letter was simple and handwritten, which must have taken considerable effort given that his people rarely wrote by hand anymore. It read, "I want to apologize for what I did, not because I'm in prison and seeking sympathy, but because I was genuinely wrong. I believed lies about your people. I let prejudice guide my actions. You could have killed me that day. You chose not to. That mercy taught me more than any punishment could. I hope that someday I can leave this place and live better. Thank you for sparing my life." Read the letter 3 times, then she wrote a response. She wrote, "I accept your apology. I hope prison gives you time to grow and change. Remember that strength without wisdom is just violence. Use your time wisely." She sent the letter and felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Forgiveness, she realized, wasn't just for the person who had done wrong. It was also for herself. Holding on to anger would only hurt her. Letting it go allowed her to move forward. 1 year after the incident, stood at the exact spot where she had fought. The plaque had been updated. Now it read, "On this day, the galaxy learned to respect Earth, but more importantly, Earth learned to respect itself." She smiled. That was better. That captured the real meaning of what had happened. Minyu joined her, 2 cups of coffee in his hands. He offered one to her, and she accepted gratefully. "You know," Minyu said, "they're talking about putting up a statue of you." "Absolutely not," said firmly. "That's what I told them you'd say," Minyu laughed. "But seriously, you've changed things, in ways you probably don't even realize. I just wanted to move cargo and live my life. And you still do. That's what makes it perfect. You're not a soldier or a fighter. You're just a person who refused to be pushed around. That's the most human thing possible." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the station's daily life flow around them. Humans and aliens working together, trading together, living together. The galaxy was vast and full of different species, but they were learning to understand each other. "Hey," Minyu said suddenly, "want to hear something interesting?" "What?" The phrase 20 seconds has become slang among humans. When someone tries to intimidate them, they just say 20 seconds and walk away. It's like a reminder that we don't have to prove anything to anyone. Laughed, "That's ridiculous." "That's humanity," Minyu countered. "We take serious moments and turn them into jokes. It's how we cope. It's how we survive." As they walked away from the plaque, thought about everything that had happened over the past year. She had become a symbol she never wanted to be. She had changed the galaxy's perception of humanity. She had helped people learn to defend themselves. But at the end of the day, she was still just a cargo handler from Earth who worked out 3 times a week and took self-defense classes. An ordinary person living an ordinary life in an extraordinary place. And maybe that was the real message. That ordinary humans could do extraordinary things. Not because they were special, but because they refused to quit. Because they survived. Because in a galaxy full of warriors bred for combat, the most dangerous species was the one that simply refused to stay down. Earth had given humanity many gifts: strong bones, efficient muscles, incredible endurance, But the greatest gift was something that couldn't be measured in gravity or strength. It was spirit, the refusal to accept defeat, the determination to keep going no matter what. That was what made humans special, and that was what the galaxy would remember.